All right, welcome back to K24 This Morning. A lot of feedback coming from you guys as far as the census is concerning. So I'll jump right into it before I hand over back to Jeff Mote. We have at Chesinga K, who's the hashtag K This Morning, saying, I'm not satisfied at all. This process is taking forever. Then we have also Samuel Imbega, who says questions being asked are clear and all of them picks on important indicators which will enable our government to plan. So that means everything they're asking you about your family, about your property, you're obviously taking note of that. Then we also have Wycliffe Bartonjo Kipkales, who's saying, I'm very satisfied by the way they conduct. That is great. If you're loving the process, so that means that you're actually appreciating the steps that the government is taking to make sure that you are enumerated. Then we have at Alex, who says, so far though, I haven't been reached by the enumerators. I can say I'm satisfied with how the exercise is being conducted. So Alex, I'm curious to find out, how would you know, how would you be satisfied if they haven't reached you? But you know what, maybe your friends have given you the 411 as far as that is concerned. Then we have Walter, who says, they knocked on my door yesterday and asked that I stay around. I waited till late night, but never showed up. I'm still waiting to be conducted. My brother, kwani unaishi wapi huko? Mko watu wengi, mko watu kidogo? Are you living in a village? Are you in an estate? So maybe it takes time to reach you. And then last but not least, we have Ole Mwaneki, who says, I was counted, but I still wonder. I was counted, but it's still wondering if it's census or stock taking of what Kenyans have. Well, it's a little bit of both, because for them to plan, they have to know everything that you have, from your property to your animals, to basically for them to understand what they're going to do. So right now, I hand over to Jeff Mote to tell us more on the newspaper review. So Jeff, mambo.
Okay, of course, as you can see, there are varying interests and, of course, varying concerns as far as our viewers are watching this. Of course, keep those tweets coming in at K24 TV and let us know. The big question, of course, up until August the 31st, umehesabiwa? Mbuvi, have you been counted?
Bado sijahesabiwa. I don't know if it's the, maybe I live in Syokimau. So
they will get there.
Machakos County, we have issues. The governor was here yesterday. He didn't address that issue, so I don't know.
Don't worry, they'll get there, of course. Like you've heard, they're working overtime to make sure that will be handled.
Right.
So do not fret. Watafika na utahesabiwa.
Niko salama.
Okay, of course, we get back to the big stories of the day. And even as we do that, please keep on tweeting us at K24 TV. We'll make sure we're looking at all of those tweets as we get through the show. We're now joined by nominated Senator Isaac Mwaura. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And of course, the formal greeting until the 31st of August. Umehesabiwa?
Umehesabika.
Umehesabika. Safi sana. And even as we look at that, a question that we posed earlier in terms of how this particular enumeration is going on and the concerns that citizens had brought up, even bodies like Amnesty International, as to some of the data that you're being forced to, divulge. A simple yes or no could suffice, but now you're being asked for your Huduma number, for your ID number. What's your take as far as this is concerned? And the government stand that if you don't give this information, there are fines, there's jail time, on the other hand.
I think it's very commendable that Kenyans have come out in large numbers, and I would really want to ask them to continue to do so. My particular concern are the minorities, particularly persons with albinism and intersex people and persons with disabilities. Right. Those are individuals or people that I'm very glad to have participated in ensuring that first there is the questions that have not been there before. It's been a 10-year struggle, but also to enhance also the disability question so that you can use a Washington group of questions. So those who are yet to be counted, people with albinism, people with disabilities, intersex persons, I think you have a very great opportunity. Right. In fact, I had a very good op-ed in your paper yesterday in the People Daily. But then also, there is no way that we can say that that information is so confidential. I beg to differ with the Amnesty International. In fact, I was just working with them the other week in Dar es Salaam with SADC on some human rights issues. As long, to be sincere, the issue of confidentiality is something that needs to be looked at. Because then in data protection for the Industrial Revolution and all of that, we do want to have, the stories around Cambridge Analytica. But asking somebody, what is your ID? That's a normal day occurrence. Yesterday, I was at Thika, vehicle inspection unit, and that's what they ask, really. Right. So whether you have a passport, I mean, if you want to travel, you must give out your passport number. So it's about how the data is going to be stored, but the issue around privacy, you've got to volunteer information to government. Right. Yeah, otherwise then how will we know? People are finding it very strange when you are being asked whether you have a radio, what kind of roofing is it, and all of that. But then it's just a question of looking at the level of economic development.
So the bigger
number of
rooms,
yes.
How our data once harvested will be stored and not what they'll ask in terms of getting the data.
Exactly. How it will be stored, how it will be disaggregated, how it will be analyzed, and for what purposes, over and above the nominal figure that we are 50 million or 49.
Okay, okay, of course. Let's move from there now to the Standard. And the front page of the Standard, 80 top KRA staff face arrest in second raid. Managers questioned by multi-agency team based in Nairobi in a follow-up to an earlier raid that saw some 62 junior officials arraigned for abetting tax evasion. And even as you look at this particular headline, lots of questions were being asked when Humphrey Kariuki was arrested and brought to court. Very recently, we had Tabitha Karanja, of course, of Keroche as well. And very many people were asking, okay, fine, if indeed we have allegations of evasion from these particular captains of industry, they didn't do it alone. It wasn't between them and the accountant. They had to be someone else from, you know, the revenue service who's doing this. Boro has since said that they are actually arresting and arraigning those who have been caught within KRA and the person who they helped on the other side. But we haven't seen that so far. Dr. Kuria, what's going on here? Because if you evade, we get you, but definitely someone else helped you from KRA.
Yes, yes, it's true, but it's not that we haven't seen. At least we saw, and I won't mention, at least 3 individuals accused of tax evasion in court. And obviously, this is the other side of it, who actually abetted the tax evasion by these 3 individuals. But if it's going to go to 80 people, then there are probably many more tax evasion cases, and we expect the individuals on the other side also to be brought to justice.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say that we have already seen a fairly big heavyweights in industry being accused of tax evasion, which is actually very serious, and them going to court. And the question was, who helped them?
Right.
Yes.
And that's what they want to answer this one. But even as you look at that, the DPP, Nordin Haji, are at pains to explain that this is not a witch hunt. We're not going for people selectively, but this is evident has been brought to the fore. Tabitha Karanja is saying that for what you're charging me for, this is already at the arbitrations tribunal. Yeah. Why are you coming to take me and this hasn't been decided yet? What's going on there from a legal standpoint, Joy?
When you're looking at the law, there's something we call the mischief rule. Every bit of legislation is supposed to be passed to cure a certain mischief. In tax matters, usually across the globe, the practice is you try and ensure compliance as much as possible. Tax avoidance is not really a crime, but tax evasion is. So, for example, if you find ways of minimizing your tax liability, legally, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you are literally not paying your taxes, you know how much you're supposed to pay, and you're not paying your taxes, then that becomes a problem. Now, look at what they've been doing in the betting industry. It's telling them, you know what, you owe us this much, you've got this much time to pay us. If you don't pay us, then we are not giving you licenses. That's how usually you work with tax matters. It's carrot and stick, because what you want is for the money to come back. So now, so with Tabitha, I mean, the eye-watering amounts that are being talked about, if you take somebody to criminal court, what are your chances of actually getting that money into the coffers if really that's what they owe? In my opinion, in fact, it's Dr. who alluded to it earlier. The quality of our prosecution sometimes leaves you wondering what the strategy is, what the end game is. And that's why it looks sometimes like a witch hunt. Because if what you want is for me to comply, it would make more sense for you to call me into an office and say, you know what, this is what we have. This is what we need out of you. How are you going to sort this out? And you come up with that regime. It's not to hold people to court, because once the criminal process starts, there's no money that's coming out of me until that court case is concluded. The other problem is, like you've said, if there was assistance from inside, then it's very difficult even to get evidence to support, because the people inside, when they see somebody is in trouble, immediately they start mopping up the mess. You find at the end of the day, fine, you may have started on a right trajectory, but you can't finish the race because you are not strategic in how you handle the matter. So if the DPP has enough to arrest somebody, but not enough to convict somebody, then you end up looking like you're not a professional to begin with. So in my opinion, some of these matters, it's a matter of tactics, strategy. What are you trying? What's the end game? If it's corruption cases, what we want to see is, for example, if I know I'm going to steal 10 billion, go to court, to prison for 3 years, at the end of the day, I still have my 10 billion. I mean, it's 3 years in jail is a good payday for 10 billion. You may find people who are willing to roll the dice to these things. So let's find a way of making it also commercially unviable for people to not do the right thing. And like, for example, like you said, if a matter is already before another tribunal, let's not sabotage the work that's already going on, because at the end of the day, what we want is for people to comply, not to. We already have over 54,000 inmates in prisons. We don't need any more.
Okay, let's bring Senator in on this one as well, because anytime these high-profile arrests happen, there's always a political angle to all of this, and the press conferences are called, these people are being targeted, and you know the politicians take different camps. What's the political goodwill as far as this is concerned? Because even as these arrests are made, different politicians speaking from different angles, yet the handshake was supposed to solely move in one direction and fight this demon called corruption.
I think there is no let-up with regard to the issue around the political goodwill. I think you can see for sure the president is very committed in terms of, you know, cementing his legacy around how corruption was dealt with. And he needs to do so, and he must be supported in this regard, because just yesterday I was at, as I said earlier on, at a motor vehicle inspection unit, and I could just see corruption happening there. I mean, some young girls, very arrogant. You go to book in advance. Every vehicle that goes there, you have to spend 2,000 shillings. I mean, Kenyans are suffering. And when I was talking to the people, you know, around the Marafa area, you know, in the inside of Juja constituency, they were telling me that when you go to Thika Level 5 hospital, you've got to bribe so that you can see the, you know, medical consultant, the doctor, ideally. So, and they only see 2, 3 people, then they go out there to do their private practice. Right. Kenyans are really suffering. I am reminded, for example, of women who have come to me, crying about land justice issues. So it's really, when it happens, people then start complaining. And let me give you an example, a personal example. Is it last week or thereabout, my wife was arrested because of a traffic offense.
Yes.
I mean, I chose not to bribe. I mean, we went through the due process of the law and I paid the fine. I mean, I went and we were home happy. You know, when you talk about the rule of law, it must take its due course. And it has to apply evenly. Otherwise, if you have laws for the rich and laws for the poor because of miscarriage of justice and maladministration of justice, then this is what you end up in. Why is it a big story? It's a big story because it's affecting a big person. Yeah? That is something that we must, of essence, if we would want to move this country forward, there is a deliberate move to ensure that everybody is equal before the law. And also, having said that, we need also to say, is there a way that we can have some form of, you know, arbitration, so that then you come up with a repayment schedule?
Right.
You know why am I saying so? Because the lack of, you know, transparency around this issue means the system itself has failed. KRA officials are very rich individuals who earn peanuts. How do they make their money? And they are there. I mean, some of them are our friends. You find somebody with a salary of less than 100,000 and they own apartment blocks. I mean, and you know, the people leverage on fatigue. Today's headline, we are speaking about it. Then tomorrow there will be a new one, and then you don't know who was bribed where and how. Then after some 1 or 2 years, we hear people are acquitted. So we need also to ask ourselves, how is the government also managing the tax that is being collected? Because at the bottom of all of this, why is KRA going for tax evaders now? Right. Because there's a cash crunch. The government is broke. It's not able to finance its own. And I'm speaking this as the Vice Chairman of Finance and Budget Committee of Senate. So the government is not able to finance. And then when you go, I mean, there is no country that was ever developed very well with overtaxation. Kenya is really overtaxed. But even if that were to be the case, because I think we are taxed almost nearly 50%, if you go to the Scandinavian countries, you find they have value for taxation. What is the value for taxation in Kenya?
So that's the issue.
This is the issue. That is why you can see now the big names. That's why there is a concerted effort, because otherwise the government is going to hold. And there's a reason why Henry Rotich and Kamau Duge are not at the helm of the National Treasury. I was in the National Assembly last Parliament. They used to come to us, and I kept, in fact, the Hansard can prove me right, that we were living unsustainably. We kept on talking about this, But people kept on advising the presidency that, oh no, even Japan, you know, we've not yet hit the limit. The cash flows are still there. Even Japan has borrowed over 200%. And we are not Japan. Okay. How many vehicles have we produced? And all of us drive the Mutumbas from Japan.
Right. Okay. And of course, that's an issue, of course, that, like you have said, we have to see how we shall move forward because it's unsustainable. And that's why they're going for these big fish, so to speak. But let's move on now to the Star. A political headline, this one, and I think I'll just start off from where we just left with Bwana Isaac Mora. DP Ruto pressure forces Jubilee to face Raila in Kibra. The last by-elections we've had from Embakasi to Kenya to Wajir, there was this whole gentleman-like agreement that was had. We shan't have candidates from either side of the political divide. But in this one, where even the Senator Nairobi Sakaja had said we shall not have a candidate, and up until a good part of yesterday, we knew that was the trajectory we are going to have as far as the race is concerned. Things changed late afternoon. Bwana Senator, is the handshake still intact, or what's going on here?
Not really. I think this is a question of balance. You see also, there is political competition. And I was there when Sakaja was making that determination in Kibra during the Requiem Mass of my good friend, the late Ken Okoth, may his soul rest in peace. But then you see now there are issues of, you know, Kenya is very interesting. We have two protagonists now, Raila and Ruto. We were all together in ODM at some point, and I have very good memories.
No permanent friends or enemies in this
Yes,
thing.
in fact, if there's one person who defended Raila in 2007, it was William Ruto. And of course, if there's one person who also helped Ruto to become the kingpin of Rift Valley, is Raila Odinga. In fact, they said that he went, Ruto went to the lake to take a shower, and of course, after that, he's been redeemed. But now, there are two very alike characters, very alike. I've worked with both of them, and they really are lions. You know, in politics, you have lions, foxes, and hares. These are lions.
But Bwana Senator, because even people are wondering, as you go around this one, please let's tackle this particular one. And people are wondering, is the DP Ruto behind this?
That's what I was coming to. So when they are now fighting, if you look at the issue of the referendum, they've already shaped it so that Ruto is pro Punguza Mzigo, Raila calls it Punguza Gunia, and then, of course, Raila is BBI, people say Blue Band Initiative, I mean, all of those kind of things. So it is actually shaping up into, you know, that polarity between the two gentlemen. So that then when you see the president now, you know, saying that I'm not standing again, we were with him on Saturday at Dimadio's funeral, and now you see these two individuals who seem to want to continue to influence politics. Of course, William Ruto must run. Of essence, he's the deputy president. So this contest is not so much about the candidates. It is ODM to lose because they have 23 odd candidates, including my good friend Benson Musungu and many others. But then Jubilee then sees it as an opportunity because of the tribal configurations. See, because then you have the Luyas who are the majority, then you have the Luo, and then you have the swing Kamba vote. So there is a very likelihood, depending on who becomes a candidate for ODM, and then who becomes the candidate for Jubilee, that it will be a close contest. It remains to be seen. And of course, William Ruto would want to be seen to have inroads. The fact that this has been forced to happen.
So this could be his hand in the background.
But of course, I mean,
that's what we needed to get the bottom of.
I mean, that's what I was trying to say in short, that it's a contest between two strong individuals.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And of course, Daktari, as you weigh in on this, handshake still intact?
Yeah, I don't think this really undermines the handshake. I think Nairobi being a cosmopolitan area is different from Wajir or some other area, and the likelihood of more people wanting to contest is there. Usually, you have more contestants in city competitions. So I mean, I expect that. I don't think this is an undermining of the handshake. I'm just so much surprised by the senator, and everything has to be looked at through the tribal lens. We need to stop that.
Okay. And of course, Joy, as you weigh in on this particular one, do you think that everything is honky-dory, everything is fine, handshake is still intact, yet we have DP Ruto at the background making sure that there are candidates in areas there wouldn't be a candidate before?
No, but DP Ruto didn't shake hands with nobody.
There wasn't a handshake on his part.
Yeah, the ones who shook hands, I think for them, they are still intact. But actually, I welcome, if the Jubilee fields a candidate in Kibra, actually welcome that development. Because what we have had over the last 2-3 years is a very awkward situation where rather than having a majority party and a minority party in political contest, we've been having after you, no, after you.
Yes.
It's been a bit of a strange, you know, we've been in the twilight zone. We need to have that political contest, that you keep those rivalries alive, so that we give people an option, an alternative. Politics is a game of who is now in charge and who can offer alternative leadership if this one is not in charge.
Right.
But if all of you are singing from the same song sheet, then Mwananchi is left helpless, wondering, what do we do?
Right.
So if Jubilee now finds their renaissance and they decide, you know what, oh, we're actually a political party, even if we lose, let's just at least field the candidates. I welcome that, because I found one unhappy side effect of the handshake was that politically we almost entered a lull where there was now nobody questioning anybody else. Everybody was saying the same thing, everybody defending the same thing. Still, you wonder who's checking the other. And if you have a minority party, their work is to shadow what the majority party is doing. That has not been happening. We've been one big party.
Okay.
So on that score, I welcome it. In terms of what Senator is talking about, I agree. If indeed it is DP Ruto behind this, then this is not a contest between Uhuru and Raila. This is actually a contest between Ruto and Raila. And that would be a good place to gauge also where are we in terms of popularity, because like Daktari says, the city is very cosmopolitan.
Right.
There's the political, there's the ethnic computations that you work out. But you know, people in the city are also a little bit more divested of that. Yeah. So they can look and say, you know what? But I agree. I was just quickly reading what Herman Manyora has commented, just right next to the story in the Star. ODM usually drops the ball in nominations. When they go sometimes direct nominations, or they choose an unpopular candidate and Baba just tries to insist that this is the one. That's where they usually drop the ball, and we've seen them paying for it in some of their by-elections. This time around, this is also a test of internal democracy within ODM. Let us see how they handle their nominations, because this is their race to lose. Okay,
we'll leave it at that as far as it's concerned. Gentlemen, lady, thank you so much for sharing your views this morning. Isaac Mora, Dr. Kuria, Joy Mdivo. And of course, that's how things are looking right now as far as nominations are concerned, corruption cases are concerned, and all of those stories, of course, in your newspapers this morning. Asanteni sana for making time and coming here. But your feedback, priceless as always, at K24 TV. You so you can get us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram as well. And want to know what you have to say as far as the big stories are concerned, right? And of course, what we're saying as well. Mr. Mbuvi, where do we start as far as that issue is concerned?
Right. So feedback, we have a lot coming through. So we'll just look at a few of that particular feedback. Starting with one James J. Mwangi, who says, hoping that crude oil export will bring a positive impact towards development of this country. That is quite impressive. We have Joseph Kinyog, who says, so we are exporting and importing at the same time? Someone explain this to me. Okay, I also need to be explained on that one. We are exporting oil to be processed in overseas, then importing it. Who bewitched Kenyans? All right, good question. I'm not an expert in that, but you know, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to see that. Let's advise the government how to use these monies from oil, because we are now an oil exporting country. That is according to Mutie. Then we also have another tweet. This one is from this IKE. And you're saying, you know what? You know what's better than flagging it off? Ensuring Kenyans feel the actual impact of having oil in their country. Well, I can say that that's an angry tweet to some extent. And then the last one from Karori Patrick, who says, let's wait for mega scandals. Why export while we have Kenya Petroleum Refineries Limited? That is a very interesting way to look at things right now, though. I also want us to have a look at the traffic situation. Let us take a quick look at Thika Superhighway, which is also known as the Embu Thika Highway. Somewhere from Mangu High School, heading towards Flame Tree Bike is looking fantastico. You can also check out if you're heading down towards back to Nairobi. The traffic is still looking good. A little bit of a snarl up as you're heading down towards Kenyatta University. Then if you go down to Kalimoni, things are not looking bad. Kenyatta Road as well, free flowing for every single person. If you look at the GSU camp now, here we are getting towards town. Survey area is looking good. Nothing to complain about. If you're also heading towards, where is this? Let's look at Ruiru. Ruiru is very notorious by the way as far as traffic is concerned, because a lot of accidents like happening in the morning, but it looks like today everything is green. So yeah, things are looking fantastic. Why don't you let us know any other roads that might be having snarl-ups at this particular minute? I can see Juja, things are looking good. Heading towards JQuad, things are fantastic. Yeah, so if anything is happening on the roads, you know where to find us at K24 TV. Remember, the hashtag is K24 This Morning. Right now, though, we take a short break, and then when we come back, interactive.